The drizzle had been falling since afternoon, turning the streets into silver ribbons under the dim glow of the street lamps. The small town was quiet, except for the occasional honk of a passing car and the shuffle of pedestrians hurrying home with umbrellas pulled low. At the far end of Market Street stood a modest little restaurant, Hassan's Kitchen. Its wooden sign creaked in the wind, the paint a little faded, but the glow from inside made it look warm against the cold night. Through the fogged windows, shadows of steaming pots, flickering light bulbs, and moving hands could be seen. Inside, the smell of garlic, cumin, and freshly baked bread lingered in the air, wrapping the tired customers in a comfort they couldn't explain. Behind the counter, Mr. Hassan wiped his brow with the back of his hand. He was a man in his late 40s, with salt and pepper hair and tired but kind eyes. His white apron bore faint stains from years of use, and though his shoulders carried the weight of bills and debts, his heart carried something heavier, compassion. Business hadn't been good for months. The economy was rough, and fewer people were dining out. His restaurant, once bustling with laughter and chatter, now had only a handful of loyal customers on most nights. Sometimes he considered selling the place and walking away, but then he would remind himself, this wasn't just a restaurant. It was a memory of his late father, who had taught him how to cook and how to live. His father's words echoed in his mind often, a kitchen isn't just for food, Hassan. It's for love, for dignity, for giving people a place to belong. That evening, he tried to push away the heavy thoughts and focused on the soup bubbling on the stove. The bell above the door chimed, and a gust of cold air slipped in. Hassan looked up automatically, his well-practiced smile forming, but it faltered slightly when he saw who had entered. It was a woman, thin and frail, her clothes drenched from the rain. Her hair clung in messy strands to her pale face, and her shoes squelched with water as she walked hesitantly inside. She clutched an old canvas bag close to her chest, as if it were her only possession in the world. The few diners in the restaurant turned their heads. Some whispered, others frowned. A couple of teenagers near the window snickered, nudging each other. Hassan noticed it all. The woman lingered near the entrance, clearly unsure if she was welcome. Her eyes flickered toward the counter, then down at her shoes. For a long moment, she seemed ready to turn and leave, but something in her trembling lips and hollow cheeks stopped her. "Good evening," Hassan called gently, stepping out from behind the counter. His voice was steady, kind, almost fatherly. She glanced up, startled. I'm sorry," she stammered. Her voice was hoarse, as if she hadn't spoken in days. "I didn't mean to bother you. She swallowed hard, her hands tightening on the bag. "I haven't eaten in 2 days. Could I, maybe, have some bread? Just bread. I can't pay, but I could wash dishes or clean tables, anything." For a moment, silence fell. Even the clink of forks seemed to pause. Hassan looked at her, really looked. The exhaustion in her eyes, the slight tremble in her knees, the way hunger had etched itself into her very skin. His heart ached. "No work needed," he said softly. "Sit down." The woman blinked, as if she hadn't understood. "But, please," Hassan interrupted, gesturing to a corner booth. "Sit. Warm yourself. I'll bring food." Slowly, hesitantly, she obeyed. She slid into the booth, her soaked clothes dripping onto the floor, her body curling slightly as if she wanted to disappear. Hassan returned to the kitchen, ignoring the few skeptical looks from other customers. He didn't care. Within minutes, he brought out a tray, a steaming bowl of lentil soup, still bubbling at the edges, a plate of rice and vegetables drizzled with herbs, and a small basket of freshly baked bread. He set it in front of her with a gentle smile. The woman's eyes widened, her lips trembled. "This is too much," she whispered. "It's just food," Hassan replied softly. "Eat. You need it." Her throat tightened as tears welled up, and she quickly wiped them away. Then, with trembling hands, she picked up a spoon and tasted the soup. The warmth spread through her body instantly, and for a moment, she closed her eyes as if she were tasting not just food but relief, safety, and kindness. She ate slowly, savoring every bite, every chew. Hassan busied himself with other customers but kept glancing at her. He noticed how carefully she broke the bread, as if making it last forever, how she whispered a quiet prayer before taking each mouthful. At one point, she looked up and caught him watching. Embarrassed, she lowered her gaze but whispered, "Thank you. No one has been kind to me for a long time." Hassan's chest tightened. He only smiled, nodding, and returned to work. By the time she finished, the restaurant was nearly empty. She carefully wrapped the last piece of bread in a napkin and tucked it into her bag. Then she stood and approached the counter, her head bowed. "I don't know how to repay you," she said quietly. "But someday, I will." "God bless you. You don't owe me anything," Hassan said warmly. "Just take care of yourself." She gave him a grateful smile, small, but it lit her tired face, and then slipped out into the night. The doorbell chimed one last time, and Hassan stood for a long while, staring at the empty booth where she had sat. Something about her had touched him deeply, though he didn't fully understand why. He sighed, turned off the stove, and began closing up for the night. His debts and struggles still lingered, but as he stacked the chairs and dimmed the lights, there was a lightness in his heart. He had thought he was only giving away one free meal. He didn't know that what he had given away was far more: hope. And though he didn't know it yet, that single act of kindness was about to change not just his life, but the fate of his entire town. The next day dawned brighter. The rain had cleared, leaving the streets glistening like polished glass. Sunlight spilled across Market Street, making the town look fresher than it had in days. Hassan rose early, as he always did, and opened the doors of Hassan's kitchen. The restaurant smelled of fresh bread and coffee, and he moved about the kitchen with the quiet rhythm of a man who had done this 1,000 times. Though his body was tired, his heart carried an unusual lightness from the night before. The memory of the woman's grateful smile lingered in his mind. He didn't know her story, but he had felt something when she whispered, "No one has been kind to me in a long time." As the morning crowd trickled in, life returned to its normal pace. The same old regulars came: Mr. Khalid, who always ordered tea and a boiled egg, the two office clerks who argued about football, the young mother with her fussy toddler. Hassan served them all with practiced ease, though his thoughts kept drifting back to the stranger from last night. By noon, the lunch rush began. Hassan tied his apron tighter, ready for the crowd. The bell above the door jingled again. He looked up, expecting another customer, only to freeze. The man who entered wasn't just another customer. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a crisp navy suit. His shoes gleamed, and his presence seemed to fill the room instantly. Conversations faltered. Forks hovered mid-air. It was the mayor. Mayor Salman was not a man people expected to see in small restaurants. He was known for grand galas, formal dinners, and political meetings in fancy hotels. Yet here he was, stepping into Hassan's humble place with two aides following behind. Hassan's heart skipped a beat. His apron suddenly felt too dirty, his restaurant too small, the air too heavy. He quickly wiped his hands and straightened. The mayor scanned the room, then walked directly toward the counter. His eyes locked on Hassan. "You're Mr. Hassan?" he asked, his voice deep and commanding, though not unkind. "Yes, sir," Hassan managed, his throat dry. I am." The mayor studied him for a moment before speaking. "Last night, a homeless woman came to City Hall. She was soaked, shivering, but she came with a story. She told us about a man who gave her food when no one else would. A man who showed her kindness when the world had shown her nothing but cruelty." A murmur spread among the diners. Hassan blinked, taken aback. Yes, she came here. She was hungry. I just gave her some food." The mayor's lips curled into a faint smile. "Do you know who that woman is?" Hassan shook his head. "She used to be a teacher in this town," the mayor said, his voice steady. "Years ago, she taught children at the primary school. But tragedy struck. Her husband died, her health declined, she lost her home. She slipped through the cracks. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared." The weight of those words settled heavy in the room. Some customers lowered their eyes, ashamed. The mayor continued, "But last night, because of your kindness, she felt seen again. She came to us not for pity, but to say, 'There is a man who reminded me that good still exists in this town.'" Hassan's lips parted, but no words came. His chest tightened. All he could think of was her trembling voice when she said she hadn't eaten in days. The mayor motioned to one of his aides, who stepped forward and placed a folder on the counter. "Our city has been searching for ways to help the homeless, to create a program where no one goes hungry. But plans don't mean much without people willing to act. You, Mr. Hassan, acted, without speeches, without applause, without expecting anything in return." The mayor's voice grew firmer. "That's why I am here. I want to partner with you. We will fund restaurants like yours so that anyone in need can come and find a warm meal. A citywide initiative, born from your act of compassion." The restaurant went utterly silent. Then, slowly, whispers spread. Some customers began clapping, then others joined, until the small dining room was filled with applause. Hassan stood frozen, his throat tight, his eyes stinging. He finally found his voice. "Sir, I don't know what to say. I never thought one meal would matter so much." The mayor placed a hand on his shoulder, his expression warm now. "That's exactly why it matters. True kindness never asks how big or small it is, it just gives. And that is the kind of heart our city needs." Tears threatened to spill from Hassan's eyes, but he blinked them away. He looked around the restaurant, at the regulars, the workers, the faces that were once strangers but now watched him with respect. In that moment, he realized something profound. His little restaurant, the place he worried might fail any day, had just become something bigger than he'd ever dreamed. It wasn't just a business anymore. It was a beacon. The mayor stayed for lunch that day, sitting at one of the tables like any other customer. He ordered the lentil soup and bread, the same meal Hassan had served the homeless woman. Reporters soon arrived, snapping photos, and word spread quickly through the town. By evening, Hassan's kitchen was no longer just another struggling restaurant. People flocked in, not just to eat, but to support a man whose kindness had sparked change. Donations poured in, volunteers offered to help cook and serve, and slowly, the citywide program took shape, with Hassan's little restaurant at its heart. That night, after closing, Hassan sat alone at one of the tables, the lights dimmed, the chairs stacked. The applause and excitement had faded, but one thought lingered. He had given away one free meal. But that meal had fed more than hunger. It had fed hope, and hope, he realized, was the most powerful dish he had ever served.